In this lecture, we're going to be talking about the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems of birds. So something interesting is birds have a four-chambered heart much like that of mammals, but their heart in comparison to their body size is actually much larger. And they have a little bit different anatomical structure. So if you look at the picture here, it looks more or less like a mammal heart, but the right AV valve of birds does not actually have chordae tendineae. It's just a muscular flap, and so there's not the little strings that basically attach to it to make it open and close. In addition to anatomical differences, there is some physiological differences as well. If you look at the EKG of a bird, it's actually upside down. So the mean electrical axis is minus 90 degrees, which is different than that of a mammal. So when you interpret an EKG, you need to take that into consideration. And if we look at this radiograph here, the arrow is pointing at the cardiac silhouette. In this ventrodorsal radiograph, if you look at the top of the cardiohepatic silhouette, that's going to be where your heart lives. Another interesting thing that exists in birds is what's called the renal portal system. The renal portal valve is located in the common iliac vein, and when the valve is open, blood is shunted away from the kidneys and into the caudal vena cava. When the renal portal valve is closed, blood is shunted through the kidneys. And so sometimes this can lead to implications in drug administration. So historically, we've only administered injectable drugs in the pectoral muscles of birds. Depending on the way that a drug is metabolized, you may actually be able to give injections in those back legs, but we still generally will just give them in the pectoral muscles. One, because we don't want to have to worry about how the drug is metabolized and whether the renal portal system affects that. And also because those pectoral muscles are pretty large and they're easy to give injections and are less likely to end up to damage the actual muscle itself. The cardiovascular system also needs to be taken into account because often we're collecting blood from birds. And so there are a number of sites that we typically draw blood from, and we'll show you how to do this in some of our videos on phlebotomy. But one of the common places that we'll take blood is the jugular vein. Often the right jugular vein is larger than the left, but we'll also take blood from a wing vein, also known as the basilic vein, and then there's also a vein in the leg that we'll collect blood from. And finally, when we look at the lymphatic system of birds, it definitely is different than mammals. So first of all, they do have a spleen, much like mammals, that plays a role in immunity, but it looks very different. And so if you open up a bird or you look at a radiograph, like this picture here, the spleen of birds is generally fairly small and it's round. So it's not long and flat like that of a mammal. And so it looks very different on radiographs, so you need to know that when you're actually evaluating a radiograph. Additionally, although there are lymph vessels throughout the body of a bird, they don't have lymph nodes. There are a few species that may have a few lymph nodes, but in general, birds do not have any lymph nodes, so don't try and palpate them because you won't find them. And so this is just a picture of a spleen of a bird. So notice how it's pretty much round. It's the same color generally that a spleen in a mammal would be, but it's got a very different shape. Now this spleen looks like it's got a little bit of scarring, and we'd probably have to take biopsies to actually determine what the cause of that scarring is. But in general, it's going to be the same color, but a very different shape. So just important to know when you're looking at it either on endoscopy or on radiographs.